If you leave certain parts of history out that most people might not want to hear about, you'll end up with almost gaps in the story where like you don't know who did this or what happened, it's just something changed. And sometimes if you include those stories, it fills the gaps and it makes things make a lot more sense.
So in the olden days, they used to just like stick wheels on kitchen chairs. So this is basically kind of like a kitchen chair, but with wheels.
Oh, okay, now I get it.
The Better World Day project is a project where children are being introduced to historical figures who have been underrepresented, women, people of color, people who have not had power.
Creating this book that will be distributed throughout the village and throughout our EL network.
This book is one of many efforts for students to tell a complete story, the story of both those who had power and those who've been oppressed.
Even though most African American people were not allowed to own property, I was allowed to because I was a war hero. Does anybody else care to share one more thing about how, if you've already shared, please don't raise your hand, how Joe Frogger and Lucretia Frogger made this world a better place? Riley.
I ate the cookies, and that helped us Sarah.
Some of the history is joyful, like the joyful truth about Joe Brown being a war hero and being able to purchase property. But there are other parts of history that children need to hear, that it wasn't fair and it wasn't equal for many different groups.
With colonization, going to these other places, seeing their cultures and saying, oh, yours is different from mine, that means that it's wrong, right? To the actual putting of it into the Declaration of Independence, where we see, does anyone remember who wrote the thing and then took it out? One of the founding fathers, TJ, Casey.
Thomas Jefferson wrote a paragraph about slaves and took it out.
Right.
And this is a part of history that has brought us to where we are now.
We can't really change the future without knowing the bad things that happened in the past.
If you listen to more than one side, you'll get like what actually happened.
I had you start to think about how former slave owners, right, would think about Juneteenth. This is a former slave's opinion about the 4th of July.
To me, it's just really important to get like all the angles of history, because you hear a lot about white people and there's so many other people who have lived through similar events, but they experienced these events differently.
We don't only talk about the good things, but we talk about the bad things, sort of like slavery, racism, and differences not being known about and disgraced.
If you listen to more than one side, you'll get like what actually happened.
I think that Old Sturbridge Academy talks about hard, difficult history in a healthy and productive way by asking questions. A holiday that is supposed to celebrate American freedom from the oppression of England. How do you think that a former slave might react to this? Turn to talk to the people next to you. Inquiry-based history is one of the best ways to draw out students and our own implicit biases and kind of put them on the table for us to examine. My education taught me a lot of stereotypes, so I had to do a lot of research to make sure that the story that I was telling was actually the story of the people that I was trying to represent.
If you want to do this work, you should start researching about these topics so you can get to know more, and then as you know more, you can maybe start doing some work by telling these stories.
I would ask the community for help. I would speak with other experts.
21, is that when they first showed up?
So that's when Wampanoag and other Native people started actually interacting with these Plymouth colonists.
I would speak with family members. I would speak with the kids about what they identify with, what they know about their own history. Give them primary sources.
Yeah, so this one's actually from 1838. It even says it right there on the coin.
On Better World Day, it was like envelopes set up around our classroom. And we just went from envelope to envelope, and there was different things in it, like pictures of doctors' tools, how they looked like back then, and then paperwork from like a college to Elizabeth Blackwell. All of these different clues to tell us about this person.
I think the doctor went to them because Wanders would say on his end.
And then Miss Wandelier told us who our person was, what her story was, and how we're going to continue to learn about her.
Activities on Better World Day launched further research and learning for the book.
I write to you on this Better World Day with joy. I have heard that you would like to bring light.
I feel like Better World Day is a very important day because we're trying to make the world a better place for everybody, not only for the people whose stories were left out, but for the people who want to know about these stories and learn about the problems of the past and make a change for the future.
Happy Better World Day, everyone. Have a great day.
You have to raise your hand if this is your first time cooking over a fire. Ooh, very exciting.
For Better World Day, we got to go make cookies just like Lucretia Brown would have. She made these cookies that would not spoil. So the sailors and the fishermen, when they had been away from home for months, they could have a bite of home.
And it reminded them of their home and their community, and it helped them to persevere. Thank you.
One of the sailors.
We want to make sure that we see history as it really was.
Oh, can I have some of your cookies?